Hello everyone, what's up? How have you all been doing? Good to see you back again, and we are again appearing in front of you to share with you with some, the different stories, good topics, and discuss something fruitful. So the topic for the day is a bread, which most of you might would have tried eating, and it's very fancy for bakery stores and cafes to showcase it among their product list, so that it does accompany very well with coffee, and it's very widespread. It's being circulated in very widespread manner across the stores, the supermarket, the FMCG. Like bread is it's kind of a bread only, but with a twist here. So there's some history related with this particular bread. I'm gonna bring it to you, as as myself being a hospitality graduate, and I have had keen interest in going through the past of food and beverage. So what interlinks history here with this bread is very unique, and that would interest you in immense manner. So I'm here. I am talking like I have been a big fan of coffee, and French press coffee has been my favorite coffee. Like that's like an americano, different kind of americano. Americano usually it's actually out of the machine itself. French press is something different. It brews along in a different. It has a different distiller, a different bottle, a different uh, process of brewing it with hot water, keeping it for a minute or two, so that it could infuse with the all the infusion coffee has, and it's best served with other different breads like Danish pastries, toast, butter, and immense amount of different bread we could talk about. It goes best along with in breakfast, so so you could call it French press or Americano or maybe black coffee these days. It's very common. But French press is what, because when I was in hotel, I used to I actually will be, if it's a good big hotel, and the old school style of service is there, still prevailing in many of the beautiful hotels. You would have specifically foreigners and the old travelers. They would prefer it in French press uh, style. So I'm just telling you my likes and dislikes. What I would like to have along with French. So this particular bread I'm talking about is the croissant, and croissant is actually what makes it peculiar here is the story behind naming it croissant. The croissant is basically a crescent. That's like crescent of the moon, basically a moon crescent. So, uh, so the story here goes back in the 16th and 17th century Europe, at the time when the Ottoman Empire was at its peak, and it was on a conquest of the rampaging all the Balkan countries around, and the great Ottoman Empire, the great Ottoman kings, sultans. I would want to state the sultan ruling the Ottoman Empire had plans to even go further inside Europe and conquer the prime hub of Christian, which was that time specifically specifically Vienna, Venice, uh, and all those places of Christian dominance, of Christian symbols of Christian power, specifically may it be Rome, or further may it be the other countries. It had already expanded, conquering the Balkan nations like Romania, or the different nation what is there right now, Latvia and all those countries. But uh, so the Ottoman armies went further ahead and laid siege to Vienna, that is present day Austria. And this was, I guess, second siege when this happened. Ottoman Empire had a great strength in their gunpowder techniques, and they used to make tunnels, dig in tunnels beneath, and they had great expertise in bombing the enemy position and the enemy fortresses with those tunnels. The parallel you would also see in in the Mughal Indian Empire, specifically at the time of the Emperor Akbar in India. He also was very famous, in using those gunpowder techniques of digging in tunnels and blowing fortresses up. So the same thing happens here, and so Vienna was very well fortified and it was defended quite well, and most of the Christian powers was at its back, but Ottomans also were no less a power. It had one of the largest empires that time, and they were digging in deep, and so weren't able to get any breakthroughs, in the usual offensive, because they had to clash with the walls, and it might would have made them stressful. A lot of casualties might would have had on the attacking side. That was the Ottoman. So they might would have tried the digging in technique. So what had happened was they were the tunnel workers might would have been working inside, and the tunnel actually had passed through a baker's place. A particular the person there would have been a baker, and the tunnel might would have passing beneath his bakery. So during midnight or so, he just during at the time of silence, he might would have felt he might would have overheard the noise, the noise of the tunnel, the pickle axes and other equipment he might would have overheard the sound. So it made him conscious about what's happening beneath it. He might would have tried different uh, thought process of where this noise would have come from, but actually it was coming from beneath, and he was able to figure that out, and he immediately conveyed it to the army, and that was one of the prime one of the prime plans which the Ottomans had to those tunnel being dug were their prime weapon. So that was where they had heavily relied upon, and after getting exposed, so that particular baker conveyed it to the armies of the Viennian armies, Austrian armies, and it didn't take much time for the army there to take control of the tunnel and expose and didn't let the enemy plan successful. So then the baker was kept in high praise and regarded, because the baker was the one to hint that there is something suspicious happening beneath, and so he had become a prime hero there in that siege. And the Ottomans, after a long duration of siege, had to lift the siege up, and they weren't able to conquer Venice. There's another instance where the King of Poland also comes and covers and then reinforces the Viennian Austrian armies, and that is when Ottoman Empire had to run back on leave the siege. So I guess there were two sieges, and this incident was one among those sieges, and that particular baker was kept in high praise, so that so Ottoman Empire had this crescent sign on their flag. So that was the markation, the prime the prime flag or symbol of the Ottoman authority. So then the baker, after he had become a hero of that particular siege, he went on to creating that Christians say bread, and maybe in German or French, he might would have named that particular bread as Croissant. That is crescent actually. That's how the story goes, and it's very, very interesting if you dig in back in the historical annals of discovering the food and their legacy. So that is what I had wanted to bring it upfront among all of you. I hope every one of you would have enjoyed. Thank you.